I've said it before and I will say it again. Sometimes you just got to risk it for the biscuit. Doesn't matter if it's best ball or a normal redraft league. Finding guys that offer a whole lot of upside could also potentially offer a whole lot of risk. But sometimes those are the best players to get a ton of value on. All that talk about biscuits is making me hungry now. Ma! Biscuits! Headliner Nation, what is going on? 40,000 strong out there right now. Thanks so much for your support. Another episode of the Fantasy Headliners coming to you from the Draft.com studios. I'm Kyle, and today we're going to be talking about 4 players in 2019 that are going to offer you a ton of upside, but they're going to come with a ton of risk. Because of that, they're probably going to be most appealing in best ball formats. But even if you don't play any best ball, that's all right. Even in redraft leagues, got a couple of guys for you that you should be paying attention to in your draft. They're going to give you a ton of value at their ADP, but also guys that you might end up looking at in your waiver wire a little bit later on, depending on whether or not they go in the draft. So no matter what you play in, this information is going to be good for you. Before we jump into it, though, don't forget we are still working on a great promotion right now with our sponsors over at Draft.com. If you do not have a Draft account yet, head over to Draft.com or download the app and sign up for a new account right now. Use our promo code HEADLINERS, make a $10 deposit, and number one, you're going to get a free $3 entry from Draft. But on top of that, send us an email with your draft username to the fantasyheadliners@gmail.com. And we're going to give you $10 off of our 2019 draft guide, limited time offer. So make sure that you're doing that. If you've never tried best ball before, or you've never tried the platform draft, then this is absolutely the time for you to take advantage of that. But no more promotions, nothing else that we're going to be selling to you. Let's jump into it right now. All right, the first 2 names that I'm going to bring up in this episode, for you best ball players, this is going to be an excellent stack for you this season. And for you redraft players, yeah, you're probably going to skip on Ryan Fitzpatrick unless it's like a 2 QB or a super flex league. However, he's a guy that you could stream in season because of his high upside, which we'll talk about here in a second. And for Kenny Stills, he's a guy, for you redraft players, you can get super late and you can stash on your bench, and he could be a really good matchup dependent type player. If you have an injury or a bye week or something like that, then you could fit him right into your lineup and potentially get a huge game out of him. Let's start with Ryan Fitzpatrick, though. What makes him appealing and gives him a ton of upside? With Ryan Fitzpatrick, last year in the NFL, he was first in average completed air yards at 8.8 yards. And he was third in the NFL in average intended air yards with 10.2 yards. Not only that, one of the things that makes Ryan Fitzpatrick a really high upside play, but again, a ton of risk, he was third in aggressiveness percentage, 20.7%, meaning that was the percentage that he was willing to be aggressive with his throws and fit them into tight windows. Typically, you're looking anywhere from 1 to 2 yards of separation from his receivers, which isn't a lot. Again, a lot of risk with those throws, but they can also lead to a ton of upside. A couple of other stats I found really, really interesting with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Last year, for air yards to the sticks, which means did he throw past the sticks, past the first down marker, or did he throw behind it and make his receivers or running backs or tight ends do all the work? Well, last season at 1.2 air yards to the sticks, he was third in the NFL, meaning that Ryan Fitzpatrick was throwing it 1.2 yards past the first down marker on average. The guy is out there slinging it. He's not checking it down. He's not gonna wait on his running backs or his tight ends or wide receivers to do all the work. He's gonna hit them out there in open space and get them going towards the end zone. Also, a 3.9 completion percentage above expectation, which tied for 5th in the NFL. What that means is that on throws that had basically a lower completion percentage expectation, He was 3.9% above that. So on those really, really low percentage throws, Ryan Fitzpatrick was making it work. Now, I've got a chart here for you. Let me show you a little bit about Ryan Fitzpatrick and why Kenny Stills might make a really, really good match this year. Check out there in the top right-hand corner, player rating versus league average. This is from Next Gen Stats at NFL.com. On throws on the right-hand side of the field, 20-plus yards down the field, he had a QB rating of 143.8. 143.8. The average on that side of the field for quarterbacks last year was right around 78%. This is a guy that threw down the field. He threw down the field, and he threw down the field well. So why does Kenny Stills match up with him? Let's talk about Kenny Stills a little bit now. So with Kenny Stills in 2018, he had a 16.4 average targeted air yards. That was fourth in the NFL. He also had a 29.42% share of team air yards for the Miami Dolphins last season. That was better than Amari Cooper. That was better than Juju Smith-Schuster. Obviously, with AB being gone now, that might change a little bit. That was better than T.Y. Hilton. It was even better than Tyler Lockett. Not only that, with Kenny Stills, since entering the league in 2013, Stills has averaged 15.9 yards per reception. That is second in the NFL of all players with at least 250 receptions. Kenny Stills isn't going to be a guy that's going to be huge in PPR leagues or half PPR leagues. He's going to be a guy that if you're putting him in your lineup consistently, he's not going to give you a whole lot of consistent weeks. However, with this offense and with Ryan Fitzpatrick at the helm, which it appears to be the case right now, Kenny Stills has a ton of upside, even if he has all of that risk. That's why in best ball leagues, stacking these two guys together, if they have a huge week, they are going to give you a ton of points. Kenny Stills in redraft leagues, a guy that you can draft, put on your bench, and if the time is right, maybe you have an injury or a bye week, or maybe you just got a wide receiver 3 with a really bad matchup or a flex with a really bad matchup, you could toss Kenny Stills in there and you could potentially get one huge touchdown from him, and that's all you need to make that work in one of those two spots. Again, in redraft leagues and best ball, it's a little bit different on what you're looking from both of them. But in best ball leagues, 100%, these are two guys that you have to stack this year, and you're going to get them super late in your draft. High risk, but high reward. All right, I've got another wide receiver for you now. And in 2018, had some injuries. So we're going to throw 2008 out the door. Let's jump in our time machine, and we're going to go back to 2017, and we're going to throw some numbers out and talk about why Marvin Jones is a really good value in best ball and in redraft at his current ADP because of how much upside this guy has. And this is why he has so much upside. Now, again, all these numbers, 2017, not 2018. He had some injuries last year, didn't play very well, but this is a guy that is super talented. So let's talk about where that upside is going to be coming from. In 2017, he was third in the NFL with 6 receptions that went 40 or more yards. He also had an average depth of target of 16.10, which was second in the NFL of players with at least 75% of their team snaps. His yards per target in 2017 was 10.49. That was second in the NFL. His yards per reception were 18.05. That was first in the NFL. And if there's one thing that we know about Matthew Stafford, and again, he's basically fallen out of love in fantasy football leagues. This is a team that's probably going to go really run dependent, run heavy this year. But even with that being said, the defense, they're not going to be bad, but they're not going to be great. They're going to be playing in a division with a lot of offensive firepower. They don't have the easiest schedule in the world. I anticipate that this team is going to have to be playing from behind quite a bit. And if there's one thing we know about Matthew Stafford, this guy is a gunslinger when they are behind, and especially at the end of games. So if they're in those 2-minute drills and they're trying to score points and they need to be moving quickly, I mean, I like Kenny Golladay. I don't love him this season. I like him. But Marvin Jones is a guy, again, a ton of risk, but a ton of reward because of his big playability in that offense. In best ball leagues, this is the perfect type of guy that you want to draft after you've solidified your wide receiver position with one or two guys that you know you can trust. In redraft leagues, again, a really good ADP for him right now. You can grab him basically as a wide receiver 3, depending on how your draft is gone. A nice flex play. Probably not going to run him out there as my wide receiver 2 this year. I think he has wide receiver 2 upside in some certain weeks. But again, you're going to have to get to a point where you're dealing with some injuries or some bye weeks to stick him out there on a consistent basis. But I just don't think he'll be that consistent this year to play every single week. All right, the final guy that I have for you on this episode is going to be Matt Breida from the San Francisco 49ers. And everyone's really been hands off on that backfield so far. Jake really loves Tevin Coleman, and I agree with him. I think Tevin Coleman might be the safest bet in that backfield to get a lot of work. Jerick McKinnon's still experiencing some knee soreness after that injury and that surgery last year. He's been shut down right now. But with a very small sample size last year, Matt Breida was really good at times. So should we just throw him to the side, or do we need to maybe take a look at him in different leagues? This is why he has a lot of upside in 2019. Again, small sample size in 2018, but among running backs that had at least 25 receptions last year, Breida ranked 7th in the NFL with 9.67 yards per reception. And he ranked 3rd in the NFL with an 87.1% catch percentage. He was 2nd also with 8.42 yards per target, and he was 11th with 8.56 yards after the catch per reception. Again, that was among running backs with at least 25 receptions. Now, among running backs who played at least 25% of their team snaps last year, Breida averaged 2.55 average depth of target in the passing game, which was 5th in the NFL. And he wasn't too shabby running the ball either. 5.32 yards per attempt. That was 5th in the NFL. Again, a really small sample size there to kind of work off of. But in best ball leagues, I highly encourage you to grab this guy very late. Because there are some weeks that with those numbers, if he continues to put those up in 2019 with a decent sample size, there are some weeks that he could really pop off and be a guy that could give you a really nice running back 2 type of week, half PPR and PPR type leagues. Now in redraft leagues, he's either going to go very, very, very late, or he's going to go undrafted. So he's a guy that you could pick up at the very end of the draft and just stash away to see what happens. Obviously, there's a lot of preseason left. Knock on wood. We don't want to see any more injuries, but if something were to happen to Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida is going to be the guy that's going to get a ton of carries, a ton of work in the passing game. He's going to be a guy that's going to be used quite often. So in redraft leagues, stash him at the very end of your draft, keep him around, see what happens. Maybe you play him in a certain week. Maybe you grab him off the waiver wire later in the season. But again, all 4 of these guys, they're not going to go out there and they're not going to win you a season with your consistency. They're probably not going to win you a fantasy football championship. But what they are going to do is they're going to offer you a ton of upside to go with that risk. Again, all 4 guys in best ball leagues, because when you draft a best ball, you're typically not going to have waivers or anything like that. These are all 4 guys that could be moved up to the top of your depth chart on any given week because they go off, boom, huge week. So in best ball, these are perfect guys to invest in late. In redraft leagues, Ryan Fitzpatrick, unless it's 2QB or a super flex, you're probably not going to worry about it, but he is a guy that you could stream at some point this season if you're a fantasy football owner that likes to stream quarterbacks. Kenny Stills is a guy you can get him very late, big play upside. Same thing with Marvin Jones. You can get him in the middle rounds of your draft, big play upside. And Matt Breida, just one injury away from getting a nice sample size, a nice workload this year. But again, in fantasy football, in redraft leagues, really late, maybe undrafted, but keep your eye on him. And in best ball, you got to pick all these guys up. Hopefully you love the information. If you do, leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts. If you sign up for draft, don't forget to send us your username so we can get you that $10 off the draft guide. But more importantly, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure that you hit the little notification to let you know whenever we have a video that pops up, because it's going to get busy, folks, and we've got you covered here at the Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everyone has a great day. Thanks again to our partners over at draft.com, our sponsors there, our studio sponsors. We've been doing a lot of things with them this year, so if you haven't tried Draft yet, do so immediately. I'll check you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Have a great one, everyone.